Good morning, my wonderful friends. I have an update to make on footprints of the gods. I now have some new information that changes a lot of what I said. You have to go with the information. You cannot stick with just, this is what I said and that's the end of it. You have to get information. And I have not been able to get much information from anybody because I'm so far out of the mainstream, they just won't communicate with me. Although I did have a guy that attacks me regularly that straightened me out on this, and I thank him for that. But the normal criticisms I get are strictly, that's impossible, it's impossible, you have to, the blood won't pump that high, and all kinds of, you know, academic nonsense. When somebody can point and say, you were wrong, buddy, and here's the reason you were wrong, I love that. And that's what I want to show right now. And this opens up a whole new area. And this is the problem with engaging with the academics. They won't respond. Now, this guy attacked me with good reason. I have no reason to be upset with this at all. Because I was wrong. You know, when you're wrong, you're wrong. But if you don't have the right information to go by and nobody will communicate with you, well, you have to go with your best gut instinct. Now, this turned out to be way better than I expected. And I appreciate that this guy did go after me because I was just totally wrong. And I was wrong because I didn't have the right information. Now I have the right information. I can go and correct my error. And see what you think now. Is Roger wrong again? Or is he right this time? Well, who knows? Let's find out. Okay, let's start with what were my claims and why was I wrong? Well, this was my claim that this was a footprint, which it clearly is not. I have been corrected in my error. Now, why would I say it was a footprint? Well, it looks like a footprint to me. It looks like somebody stepped in some gooey stuff and this stuff rose up on the side and this is a depression. Exactly opposite. I was totally wrong. Now, why was I wrong? I had no information. All I had was this picture. I got sent this picture by, I don't know who, probably close to 10 years ago. And they said, what do you make of this? And I looked at it and I said, wow, that's a footprint. And I thought this was shadows, which it is not. And I thought these showed where there might have been some footprints, which that is also, toes, which is also wrong. Now, I'm going to explain to you what this really is. And it is a protrusion that's sticking up. And that, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm almost 100% sure, that is a foot. It's actually what's left over from a decayed foot. And there's another one right next to it. And all the organs are laying right in that area, at least some of them. And I will show you some extremely close details now, because now I know what it is. It's Zuma Rock in Nigeria. I didn't know this. I had no idea. So I didn't have anything to go by. All I could go by was the picture I saw. And boy, I tell you, that thing looks like a footprint to me. But when you see the details, yep, totally wrong. Let's see the details. All right, before we go to the details on Zuma Rock, this is another one. I don't know where this is, but people send me these things all the time. What do you think? Well, obviously, I think it's a foot. I mean, there's no other possibility that I can see here. Now this, I can see enough of it, instead of just looking down at it, that I can see the base of the foot, the ankle, and up coming back from the back here is the tendon that runs to the Achilles heel. And that sure looks like a bone to me. And you start off with tendon. It's all tendon until you hit the muscle, and then you have the calf and all that business coming up. So I'm going with a foot here, and if anybody knows where this is, I'd like to know. I don't know where these things are. People send me stuff all the time, and I have no details on them. So if you send me something, I'd like to have details, but a lot of people don't have the details either, because it's not allowed to speak about these things, so then they're just not spoken about. Okay, my friends, so what I am going to attempt to do is explain this is a foot. Now that right there is where the tibia comes down. You see that? And it rocks in this cradle right here. Let me put a little more water on there. A little more water, you can always see things much, much better. Now, so we see that little round circle there. That's where the tibia sits, right in here. That's the cradle. Now, in addition to the tibia, you have the fibula, which is the second bone. So the first bone is your really main bone, rocks right on that cradle right there. Now, so your fibula comes down here, and that basically just glues on with a couple of tendons, 3 different tendons locking it in. But in addition, there's a little tab behind this here. So that is going to be almost right on top of the tibia. So the tibia, fibula. So here's the tibia. Right, there's the tibia right there. So this would be where the fibula would lock in. And there it is right there. You see that little circle? All right, and that's the center of the circle right there. That's where it locked in. Now right back here is this. It sits right behind that little circle. And you can see that too. And then there's another one up in the front that sits up here in the front of this circle, which is right there. So there's a bump and a bump and a bump. I don't know if you can see those. I'm going to try doing a catalase test probably on this. I don't know. I'll see. But if there's a catalase test should show where the membrane's attached. But I'm not sure it will. You know, this is kind of, who knows? Who knows? But this is a foot. This is a foot. And they all have the fibula on the side. So they have a tibia coming down, and a fibula on the side. And it seems all the no-toes do too, because this is a no-toe. And virtually all of them that we found, and that's a significant amount, have that little notch right here, which is the fibula. All right, and now these are the different toe styles. You see these little sausages, which would have been in here, little plugs. And I think that's what this is. I think these are from the same site where Tish Egerton found a batch of these no-toes. And this shows the tibia and the fibula in a little more detail. All right, and it's just kind of too much detail. See, this is basically the other foot against this foot. And that's the tibia, fibula, and that's the fibula. And of course, that's where the main bone came down, the tibia, and that's again here. All right, so they all have this piece that falls off. So let's start with that. Can I show that on this big Zuma rock? I think I can. Okay, I'm going to have to go with that. Would right there would be where the fibula sort of laid up against the other bone, the tibia. And I think these are the lock-ins right here, the tendon attachments that lock this, just like you can see up here. Well, actually you can't see. All right, so what I'm saying is this is the fibula, which would be right here, laying right here. These, it's either right here, somewhere right along here, have to be where the tendon's attached. I mean the ligaments, to lock that bone in place. Now there's another one that runs down here, and I think I can see that. You see that little flap running down there? So I think that's it. One here, one there. There's the main center, and there's the one coming down. You see? You may not be able to see that. I don't know if you can or not. I certainly can. Let's take another shot at this. Hold on. Let me. No, that won't work. Let's take another look at this from that closer perspective. Actually, maybe get even closer. All right. Again, this little strap here, I believe is this strap. It straps right into the bone, which is the bone would be right here. It just lays on there. It's just a little bit of an attachment, yes. And then you have this one here and this one here, right next to the bone. And there they are right there, this one and this one. The bone is there, the strap comes down. See, the strap comes down to the calcaneus. There's a bone back here, and then that gets all wrapped up by the Achilles tendon, and that comes up to the leg. But that's the spots we're looking at right there. I'm pretty damn sure that's it. It sure fits the profile. You see that? This is a strange, strange foot. This looks like a sole. For all the world, to me, it looked like a sole. And at first I thought, wow, maybe this is a shoe. But it's not. This is actually the material of the foot. And you see the way these things wrap around and seam together, it's like the bones do the same thing. I have a bone here, somewhere around here, this one. They do the same thing. They wrap around and then they seal. You see this? I don't know if you can see that or not. But there's a seam right here and another seam here. They just wrap right around and they seam right in there. That's the way the fascia attaches the coating, the rubber. Basically it's just like a rubber bag that coats all your bones, coats all your organs, coats everything in your body. And when it attaches together, they attach with a seam. Let me put a little water on it, it'll make sense. All right, here's the bone. And it's one of these bones that go up against another bone. Now, it's completely wrapped with fascia. And if you can see right now, you can see that little line there and that little line. It's almost like a crescent roll. They wrap right around and they glue together on these seams. And that may be allow them to move a little bit. I don't know. But I know it's not like one big thing and there's no seams. There's a seam on all of these bones, every single one of them. All the ones I've found. But you got to really look for it. They're not easy to see. So that's how all of this stuff sticks together, is on these seams. And that's like, right there, that's a major seam. All of these are. Now the reason that they're split up like this is because when they soaked and then they dried out, that particular layer right there, that separated, it's sort of like, you know, the gluey part just was removed. There's like a glue that is on that layer, but now that glue's gone. Same thing around here, that glue's gone. We'll take a look at it in a microscope. It'll make hopefully a little more sense. But they all died flat in the flood. Like that one died like that, I'm sure. You can't move it, it's just flat. That's how you could tell when they were all in the Great Flood. This is not anything to fight about anymore. It just happened. And there's a little bit of blood coming down because there was an artery coming down to feed all of this tissue down here. So that's just barely reddish looking. You can see it. But in the microscope, it'll make, when I put water on it, it rehydrates quickly. Now, this could well be the toes that are inside. But they're inside, they're encased. They're not like our toes. And this doesn't run down this way like a foot would on us. It just comes out flat. And this piece right here, you see how that seam was in here? There was a seam there. And I think that allowed this thing to bend. As the guy stepped on it, it would sort of seam up a little bit and then go into whatever, whether it has tendons in here, I don't know. Whether it has springs in here, I don't know. Some of them had springs. There's no question about that. We have them that have the springs. And the springs are right here. All right, these are the springs that are in some of them. That's nothing like your foot. Whoops. All right, that's nothing like your foot. Except for the heel and the strap. And then you have springs instead of bones. And here's the heel and the strap. Right here, here it is, the heel, and the strap comes up to the fibula, to the tibia, and it sort of holds things together, and it's snapped right here, And then in front, instead of bones, we have springs. It's quite obvious. There's no way you can deny that. There's just no way you can deny that. Look, there's the heel. Just like I showed you before. And there's that strap that goes up to the cradle where the bone could be coming down here. You can't deny that. And this is what they call a wrinkle zone. You see how it's all squishy looking there? And then all of a sudden it gets flat here. This is the same as this. Only it's gone boing, it pulled back, and it's all that wrinkly looking stuff instead of a nice flat tendon. Tendons are like springs, they're like rubber bands. And when you cut them, they have what they call a wrinkle zone. It's fully understood. And this just shows you the several of them together. This is the one I have right here. This is one of Tish's, but they have these breaks on them. All of them have where the fibula was. It seems to be the fibula was something that was a standard, I mean, as far as I can tell. And there's the heel bone, and there's the strap that broke off on this one. And there's the springs instead of bones. These have bones. We ain't got no bones. We got a springs. Now, and this is what a foot looks like. Now, what I'm going to show you, well, first of all, we're going to look at the fibula attachment at Zuma. And then I'm going to show you how these come across and they're broken right off here. And you can actually see them. I'm very confident now of that being a foot. And additional parts of the body are right there on site. Okay, here it is, my friends. That right there is the fibula attachment. And you see this whole area coming up here that broke off? It's the same thing as this whole area that is around here that broke off. No difference. Now, that's the attachment of the fibula right there. And these right here, I believe, are the ligaments, or right in that area somewhere. Now, I said that the tendons coming down in the front were broken off. Well, here's where they broke off. You see, they just stopped right here. Now, that's some blood. That's some kind of an artery feeding it down. And you can see the tendons separated if you look carefully. This is the key. You got to look at these things really carefully. There's one tendon here. You see the little cleaves in them? And that's where they broke off. Now the rest of the foot is gone. I don't know what happened to it, if it's sunk in the mud or whatever. But that is this right here. Now, of course, this is on the other foot. All right, and that is that, and that's exactly what I just showed you with the fibula, as far as I can determine. Now, we're going to take another shot. We're going to go to Google Earth in a minute. But this stuff here, that's just nothing more than flesh. Basically, that's eroded out and sort of just flopping away, because there's a basement layer to everything. You got the fleshy area on top, then you got a basement layer. And it's getting down to the basement layer. There's a basement layer. Now, you see these other things here? I saw there was something from this. Well, anyway, they are parts of this body. And I believe the other foot is right there. And that also has the fibula attachment. These are the things you have to look for, is the little tiny details. And of course, the tendons breaking off right there, the blood coming out. It's in pretty good shape, actually. See, all this runoff has eroded off, which is the fleshy sort of stuff. And this will be all where it grows nice and green stuff, usually near that. All right, this is right at the very back in the heel, and I believe that's probably a tendon, not certain. This appears to be where the tibia cradle was. And then, of course, there's a tendon coming up. There's a bunch of tendons come up. We're going to look at that a little closer on the map and see if we can make a determination. All right, pay close attention to this. You see how these come under, there's a sheath that holds them, and then the tendons come down and they go to your toes so you can move them. Now, I don't know if this was a standard foot or not. It does not look like it to me, but it does appear to have these tendons. Now, I'll show you, because they come down and they broke right off right about there. Sure. Yep. All right, sorry about that. This is where they broke off. And you can see them, they're just broken right off. Now let's take a look at that. And that would be right here. This is looking straight into the foot. Boom. Here's these tendons coming down, you see? One here, one here, one here. There's blood coming out here. Somewhere there's an artery coming right out there. You see that little round artery there? Now, I said they broke off. Here they break. This is where they broke off. And you can see tendons have all these little strappy looking things in them. This is not just accidental. And again, this is the skin sort of stuff. It looks to me like the fleshy part has started to erode away. Now this may be the sheath. I'm not sure, because the sheath is going to be a little bit different. All right, because you got the sheath up here, and then you got the tendons coming out of it. So, you know, it's up to interpretation at this point. All right, so up to this point, I have shown you there are giant feet. They're all over the place. And I have smaller ones, but they're still very giant. And minor DNA tested, CAT scan, all that stuff, bits and pieces. Now, I showed you all of the thing about the fibula, about how the tendons come down, how the ligaments attach and hold that to the side. And this is right here. As far as I can see, it's exactly identical to what would happen if the tibia fell off. People are saying, oh, the fibula. People are saying, oh, there's a face in there. No, that is where the attachment was. And the whole thing right up to this whole setup right here pops off. All the way from the back right up to here. Same as this here, right? There's no difference. No different. Oh, it's a little bigger. All right, one last time before we go to Google Earth. The fibula attachment and all of the piece that breaks off. The tendons coming down here, this is pretty obvious to me. They even have a center to them. If you know how to look at this stuff really well, and you take your time, that's the key. You got to take your time. You can't go quick with this. As far as I'm concerned, those are tendons, and that is a blood supply. I believe it's the artery, and that probably is the vein right there. Black and red normally run right next to each other, and the red is the artery. And I think that's the black is the vein. And I believe this is the other foot, and the organs are here too. As far as I can see, I'm pretty sure. Let's take a look at it. All right, remember I showed you the strap coming right down from the fibula, and of course the other two there, right on the sides of it. Well, we can see that strap pretty well right here. There's that strap coming down right from the fibula attachment. Now, you know, whenever you see these abrupt transitions, different types of materials like this and this, you have to come up with some conclusion. Why? Why is this so different? Why is this piece broken off of here? Or why is this piece broken off of here? Because it's the same piece. It's the fibula. And that was the attachment. Okay, so here we are at Zuma Rock. That's Zuma Rock. Now, the fibula is on the outside of the feet, so there would be a fibula here and a fibula here if this was the other foot, and deep in the ground trying to push this foot up in the mud. And that's what I expect. Most of the reason we only see the one foot is because one foot is pushing hard into the mud, trying to lift the other foot up. So if we are, most of the feet are under the ground, I'm sure, totally. But some of them, they push one up and one down, and I think that's the case here. Now, can I show you the fibula on this one? Yes, I think I can. And here it is right here. That's where the fibula would have attached, or did attach. Now, this is very interesting. This looks like it could very well be some artery blood, or I'm pretty sure it's blood, and I'm pretty sure it's artery blood. I mean, vein blood, I'm sorry. The black is usually the vein. Now, I could see on the other one it has a similar spot, all right? Don't forget. All right, I don't know, this is very hard to tell because this one is much more complete. This one is heavily eroded. But it's basically the same thing. There's the heel right there. Now you might be able to see a little bit of tendon on this one in the back. The other one I think has a pretty good amount of tendon left. You see it right there? Oops. This happens to me all the time. I gotta exit. There we go. No, maybe not. Hold on a second. All right, I had to close the damn thing up and start over again because I couldn't get off of this flat screen. So if anybody knows how to go back to not surface screen, please tell me. And the other thing is somebody telling me how to get rid of these damn little labels. Once you put in a label and try to find where this is, something happened to this Google Earth from my machine. Because right now, when I put in the name of something and I click it, it names it somewhere on the world, but I can't find it. I have to go searching around the world to find the actual name. Usually it went, boom, right there I was. It doesn't do that anymore. And I can't get off of surface view once I get there, so I have to be careful not to go too deep, otherwise I got to start all over again. It's crazy. I've searched everywhere up here. I can't find anything that tells me how to exit surface mode. No. But anyway, let's just get back to what we're doing. Zuma Rock is right underneath this stupid name tag. Now, so I'm saying this is the foot, and that's the other foot. What's all this stuff? Why would these things be here? I can tell you why. Those are organs from this guy's body. Now, what do we see laying around here? There's nothing really much over here. But there's all this stuff here. So his body had to go somewhere. And it looks like he was just standing there and died. And these, I looked at these very carefully. As far as I'm concerned, these are organs in the body. It could be a stomach, could be a heart, could be a bunch of different things. And then he apparently fell over this way. Part of him looks like it fell over to this side, maybe part of his shoulder fell over here, and the rest of his body went this way. And all of this stuff here is basically from his body. And I've looked at this stuff too, and I can see it's all organic. And that's why they're growing stuff here, because their bodies and blood make things grow very green. And as you can see, it's quite green. All right, we're going to turn to I'm going to do a bunch of stuff, and we're going to get in here and look at this very carefully, because this is all body tissue from this guy's body. As far as I'm concerned, that's my opinion now. And again, at first I thought it was just a footprint, but I had no information. I had no way to look this up. Now I do. And when you see this stuff here, I think this could, one of them is a heart, I'm sure. And I think this might be it. All right, it's hard to be positive because the organs have a lot of chemistry in them. Now this could be it, I don't know. You see how everything's growing real green out of here, and you got all of this crazy looking stuff coming out of here. And then you got like places like, what's this doing here? It looks like they've been mining in here. I don't know. I can see some tracks going up in here. I don't want to get too close because I'll lose it again. You know, they're doing a lot. There's a lot of minerals here. There's a ton of minerals. And like I say, over here, it looks to me like part of his body fell off to this side. Because this shouldn't be here. What's this doing here? And it's the same sort of texture and coloration and everything. A lot of green. Look at a lot of green growing in here. That's all artery. Anywhere you see the red is where the green is going to grow. And the redder it is, the greener it gets. Now, I don't know what this was. It could have been a liver. Could it be just his shoulder? I don't know. Again, I can't get too close because I lose I lose it and I got to start all over again. I'd love to be able to get right down on here. Oops, I don't want to get too close. What it is, I don't know. But it's some kind of body part. And the rest of them fell over this way, is my opinion. And like even this stuff here, I believe that's part of his body. Could it be his stomach or who knows what? But this shouldn't be just laying here for no reason. What the hell is it doing here for no reason? Right next to somebody's legs. And you got all this same fleshy, you know, like smooth muscle or something, I would have to call this. And there's Zuma. The guy fell over right here. Now normally there's going to be some water and blood and all that associated, and I think this has something to do with his body too. This could be his digestive area or stomach or whatever, but this is, I believe, some kind of biology from his body. Again, I can't prove that, but if he fell over this way and all this stuff is from his body, and this could be from it too. I don't know. He doesn't. How tall would he be? I don't know. Would he be tall enough to fall over here and have it be from his head area? I did find something I thought looked very well could have been his head. I got to try to find it again. Hold on a second. All right, this is the thing I think could be his head. You can see the edge of it. See all around here? That's something in a circle. They cut right across through the center of his brain, which would be a cavity, basically, which looks like it to me. Now, is there anything else I can tell about it? I don't know. But there's a lot of greenery growing here, and the most green is growing right at the edge where it would have eroded off, which is where you find the green growing of a lot of stuff. Now, this is not far from his body, from his feet. See, the feet are over here, the head is over here in a pile of body tissue as far as I'm concerned. So that guy, all I can say is I don't know. But I'm going to tell you right now, that was feet as far as I'm concerned. I found enough markers that I can make that determination with fair certainty. All right, what this is and how this formed and what it boils down to, I don't know. But this would be about the right size for a head. You see it, this right here? Compared to the feet. Well, your head is bigger than your feet. So that right there could be just as big. I don't know. Again, I don't know. And maybe they had big heads. Maybe they had small heads. I have no idea. All I can say is, as far as I'm concerned, if those were feet, which I believe they were, this would be the body, because otherwise you'd see body things growing in, you know, like, well, let me show you Devil's Tower. Devil's Tower is a perfect example of how things grow and a foot. All right, hold on a second. All right, as I tell you, always look for the eroded flesh and the green. The green will be growing in eroded flesh. And this is eroded flesh. So whatever this was, the surface of it had some kind of fleshiness to it and eroded, and everything down here is growing green as green can be. You see it? Even the green up here. Green all over here. This is red blood. Now, what this was, I don't know. I don't know. This is right in front of his feet. I have no idea. And then you have this one. Well, you have the 2 feet. This one over here is, again, another strange body part. I don't know what it is. But they're doing some mining here. I think this could be a kidney or something. It looks like they're doing some salt mining here. And they're doing some over here too, it looks like. All right, and then you got this, whatever this is. And look at the blood that's in here. Look at that. they've been working this, it looks like, but I don't know what this is, but it's not, you know, it's red blood. Let's put it that way. I can see, and I can see there's all kinds of plumbing looking stuff going on there. I'd say that was blood, and this is the other part. Now I'm going to have to go with the heart, because you got black and you got red. In the heart, that's exactly what it is. One side's got the black blood, one side's got the red blood. And this here, you know, there's probably, you could find the plumbing if you looked around, but you see all the little green spots? There's a ton of blood in a heart, quite obviously. Now this is probably the aorta or one of the heart valves, I don't know. But black and red right together, I'm going with the heart. And then this is probably something to do with the digestive system. And again, I don't want to get too close, I'm going to lose the whole thing. But these look like something in the digestive system, to me. And again, look at how green this stuff is. This is all a lot of blood and bone meal in here. That's what makes things grow green, and feathers. All those are the three things. All right, so that's Zuma Rock. So let's continue forward. Okay, check this out. This, I believe, is the other foot to Devil's Tower. So when I say it's the other foot to Devil's Tower is just this little bitty thing right here. And if that's a foot, how could this big thing be a foot? Guess what? This is not a foot. This is an Achilles tendon. That's all it is, which is just the tiniest little bit of a foot. This little thing right here, it sits right there in the back of the foot. All of the rest is foot going out this way. We're going to look at it in Google Earth. And I have a ton of other shots of Devil's Tower, which, as far as I'm concerned, shows that that is an Achilles tendon. So let's see what an Achilles tendon is, first of all. Okay, now you're going to learn some anatomy, some biology, and so forth. Now, this is an Achilles tendon. This is a calf of a guy's leg, and the tendon comes up quite a ways, and then it turns into muscle. It's not as abrupt as this, but it's pretty abrupt. However, when you tear a tendon, you don't tear it up here. You tear it here, right in there. It breaks. This is it. And it breaks abruptly, and it creates a wrinkle zone. Because what this tendon does, and all the tendons in your body, they continuously hold like a rubber band. They're always under tension. That's why they call them tendons. Tension. They're always, and if you cut it, it goes boing, and you get an abrupt transition wrinkle zone. And I mean it's abrupt. Because these things are built with blocks. When it breaks in one block, it goes right across the set of them. Okay, so all of these are a bazillion, and I mean a bazillion little tendon fibers attached to the Achilles tendon. This is the Achilles tendon. They call it the calcaneus bone, or it's not really a bone, it's a tendon. It's at your heel. This is your heel bone, if you want to call it that, but it's not. Now, all of these little things are, I mean, there's literally could be a million of them, fibers coming out of here. When this breaks from it breaks right across, because all of these are made in little tiny blocks, and in big creatures they're not so tiny. Here's what they look like. And when they break, when it fractures, they break flat as a pancake. These little blocks, there's one on top of another on top of another, and when they're originally alive, there's just a bit of gooiness between them, but they're tight and they're hard as hell, and that's why they turn this way, because there's very little actual biology in there. It's mostly mineralized little cords. And here's what it looks like when you get down into the depth of fiber of tendon. So this is tendon. And they come pretty good size ropes. And then inside the rope, there's these bundles, tertiary bundles, which means more fibers. Inside this, there's a ton of more fibers. See this little thing here? This little one is one of these little tiny things, and there's thousands of them. And then they come out to be another hundreds of them. And then they come out from one of these to be another hundreds of them. And from one of those to be another, I don't know how many. And then you end up with these tiny little fibrils at the very end. And they attach with these little tiny little balls. So there's a ball on each one of these fibrils, and that's the anchor. They call it the enthesis. All right, and this is what they look like. And I mean, these things are absolutely stunningly large. And there is, it's just what it was written in the ancient texts, and nobody's ever given it a second thought. Well, it's time to rethink this whole thing. Now, I'm going to continue on with Devil's Tower, and you'll see the wrinkles on. Now, don't forget, when these break, they break straight across because of the, you see how this is? I mean, that's just, they break like this. And, Devil's Tower is not broken completely flat either. It looks like it when you look at it from some of these pictures. But when I got on Google Earth, it didn't look exactly like the same as the pictures I saw, so I don't know. Now, you have to be able to look at something from every single different angle, over this way and that way, the sun hitting it with this way, that way. But I can tell you right now, whatever this is, if it's Devil's Tower or not, I believe it is. That's what it's been portrayed as. This is the wrinkle zone at the top. We're going to look at this closely. And these are those tendon fibrils, like I just showed you. And this comes down to the Achilles tendon. And that's all this is the tendon. The whole rest of the foot isn't even involved in this. That's why the other foot is just gigantic, because this is just the tiniest little piece of the foot, believe it or not. I know this is just beyond crazy. But that little bit of tendon right there, that's all it is at Devil's Tower. All of the rest of the foot is not there. On the other one that I outlined, you can see the tendon would be at the very, very back tip of that foot. And the dimensions make sense. All right, here's what's Devil's Tower is right there. And just the little center is Devil's Tower. So let's say it's this big. That's where it would be on this other foot, if this is the other foot. But that's the only place I can find where the other foot would be. Now, why the whole thing is missing, I don't know. But this is all this is a tendon. Now, I'm going to show you a bunch of shots from far away. You see all the body is just laying there. Well, the fleshy stuff. You can tell it's the body because it's all fleshy and it has some tendony stuff too. All right, as I always say, look for the green. When you see green, you know that there was a lot of blood flowing here at one point, and you can see it right here. I'm going to show you this up close because it's layers of body tissue. And this appears to be either flesh on top, or it could have something to do with tendon meeting up with the muscle, maybe from upper part of the leg, because this only comes up to very close to the bottom of the ankle. By the time you get to the calf, you're way up here. They break, well, as I showed you. Let's make sure you understand. This is the ball. This is the tendon coming up, and the calf would be way up here. They break very low where it narrows in. They break right in here. So the calf comes way up here. All of that stuff had to go somewhere. And some of this white would be attached to some of the red, I would imagine, and is exactly what we see as I just showed you right here. So that calf could have fallen over here, over there, I don't know. But it certainly fits the pattern. And there's green, red and green all over there. You see the green growing in the blood? That's what it loves. It loves blood. You buy blood meal, it grows plants very well. And feather meal too. They both have extremely high nitrogen content. All right, you see this? That's exactly what an Achilles tendon looks like. It goes up until it gets narrow, and then it widens out until it hits the calf way up at the top. And this is the heel Achilles tendon, the heel bone. They call it the heel bone. It's a calcaneus. It's made out of tendon, and it wraps around a bone. All right, this shot it really shows the Achilles tendon as being almost nothing, but I don't particularly agree with this shot. It's more substantial than what they're showing here. That's what I think. But you have to see, it's running down to the heel bone. They call it the heel bone, but it's just a tendon wrapped around the heel bone. So it's a little misleading as far as I'm concerned. But this is basically what it is right there. I mean, it's not a big, huge thing compared to the foot in its entirety. It's just not that big. And but to look at it, you'd say, holy smokes, look at the size of the thing. Well, here's the heel bone down the bottom, and see how these things all come together here. This is the way tendons work. They fuse into each other. And here's the wrinkle zone at the top. And it breaks flat as a pancake. And they're all breaking here and there. You know, they are made with these little blocks, as I showed you before. These little blocks make up the tendons. So when they shear, they can shear straight across one perfect spot. And you know, they're going to be a little floppy here and there. And when you look at it from the air, from the Google Earth, it looks pretty floppy, to be honest with you. What else did I show you here? We saw this. There's a wrinkle zone, very easy to see. Whenever you see the red blood, you're going to see something green growing. Again, I said 100,000 times. I don't know how many more times I can say it. You see green, I mean, you see red, you're going to see green. And all of these fibers have a slip on them, which is, they call it leucine-rich proteins. Small in us, leucine-rich proteins. In Devil's Tower, which is here, this is what it looks like. Now, you see this wrinkly-looking stuff? That's a slip over the top of every tendon. Has its own little slip around it so that it can slide within this goo. Now, when you get older and you stop moving a lot, that goo sets up. That's when you get your pains. You got to stretch. You got to move these things and keep them moving, keep them moving, keep them moving. You don't, you're done. You try to move and you say, holy smokes, that hurts like hell. Trust me, I had it happen to me. And I realized, as you get older, you're a little less active, And anyway, this is the point. You see how it's scaling off here? It's just a scale that sits on top of the fibers. And you can see this is exactly the structure of Achilles tendon. It comes up this way. And you can see all this red around here from the body decomposing. I think I showed you this. Again, total greenness and blood. Okay, this is from Al May. And again, this is strictly fair use. I'm not trying to steal anybody's stuff. I just need to be able to show these things. Now, you see these? To me, these are some kind of layers of flesh. And the red is iron oxides because it was blood. And you see all the green stuff growing here? It just loves that. Now, you see up there that little cleft in there and how it is broken up a little bit? You don't see that normally in most of the shots you see on Google Earth. It's usually just exactly flat on top. Now, when we look at it, you're going to see it. This is more correct. We're going to look at it on Google Earth in a second. But I think I've shown enough to demonstrate that is a tendon, and it's Achilles tendon, and it is basically a tiny little tendon. All right, now check this out. This is Devil's Tower. Way down here, Devil's Tower, and that's all that red stuff I showed you. Whoops, I'm sorry. All right, check this out. I think this is pretty accurate. Don't forget, it's the green. You got to look for the colors. There's Devil's Tower, that little tiny stem of Achilles tendon. And I believe this is basically the body of the creature when he died. And all out here is biology. All right, that's why things are growing out here in this red stuff, or this red stuff is out here, is because that is basically runoff of a decaying creature. You see that? You see how these things are growing exactly on a membrane, basically? This is not accidental. And there is absolutely no reason for all this to be so green in this one spot. Nothing around here is green. All right, so I say this guy died, he fell over here. Now, you can go up on Google Earth. I'm sure you have Google Earth on your computer. And you can look at this. And now, don't forget, I say again, 100,000 times, look for the change in the colors. Look for the patterns. Now, what do you see over here? Something's going on over here. All right, this is biology too. And I mean, this is biology on steroids. Compared to the... this is like 1,000 times bigger than Devil's Tower. Devil's Tower, a guy with a little foot fell over and died there. That's all. And we think it's a big deal. I don't think it's such a big deal anymore. Not the things I found. No. I know. Now let's go to the ruler. Hold on one second. All right, we're going to go from way over here to way over here. All right, we got 186 kilometers, which is 110 miles. So it's 110 miles this guy would be tall. He's not that tall. Enoch was 2.5, was the 2.5 miles were supposed to be the ones on, way back when. So anyway, that's it's just another damn mud fossil world, my friends. All right, Quetzalcoatl is at least 1,100 miles. All right, from his nose to up here. Now, I think he goes much further than here, though. I believe he goes all the way up over to here. All right, which would add another 245 miles to it. Now, these are good-sized creatures. And how this happened, I cannot tell you, but I'm absolutely certain that's Quetzalcoatl. And this is his beards. And he may have been a protector of humanity. It looks like he was eating giants, which were eating humans. All right, there's Quetzalcoatl. I showed you from his nose up to here was 1,100 miles. There's his headdress, there's his beards, and he's eating something pretty big. If it was the size that he's showing here on Google Earth, and he had a human being in his mouth that was that big, yikes. But that is Quetzalcoatl, and this is his headdress. And it is made out of feathers. And these are his beards, just as he showed. Here's his beards. And all this right here runs right down his throat, all the way down his throat. This is exactly identical as to what he has portrayed in. And here's the feathers on his headdress, and they are feathers, just as I will show you. There's some reasonable ones up here. Oh, here. Let's see. There's a couple easy ones to see. Hold on. Oh, it is right up here. These are easy ones to see. Give it a second. You see that right there? That's a feather. Let it settle in for a second. That's exactly what a feather is. And I know because I have them here. And that is a feather, my friends. And there's another one right next to it here, and another one here, and another one here, and another one here. And that was his headdress. And that's exactly what I showed you a second ago. And that is exactly identical in every single way. And up here, the green mountains are his feathers that have gone all the way up here. And these are feathers, and the reason they're green is because feather meal makes plants grow green. That's the whole deal with feathers meals. And the same thing with blood. Blood and feathers, absolutely fabulous. And the bone meal is also very good. Bone meal is good for flowering plants. Blood and feather meal is good for explosive greening of the plants. And Quetzalcoatl is, I believe, somewhere similar to the size of Typhon. Yep, we're showing about 1,150 miles for Typhon. All right, now Typhon, as everybody knows, there's his head up here. All right, and he was trying to attack the giant fish down below. Here's his throat, shown it bazillions of times. These are all the scales, which are the dragon scales, that coat his dragon throat. All the rest of the stuff here is just runoff of bodily fluids. It means nothing to the creature himself. It's just stuff that's run off. They call it effluent. There's his throat, and that's the bottom of his throat right here. Now down here, his throat was cut. Right here, and it bled out in the desert. Now this is talked about in Apollodorus. And a lot of the ancient texts talk about Zeus, with his great and mighty sword, killed Typhon. And I have all the whole history of this all down. I've read it over and over and over now about how Typhon was created by Earth. And Earth had intercourse with Tartarus to bring forth Typhon to attack the gods, which he did, and here's one of them he got. They changed themselves into animals to try to hide from him. He spit this stuff down on this one, which was a giant fish. So this apparently, to me, was one of the gods. And he spit all this stuff out. And exactly what it says. He attacked them with flaming and hissing and squirting fire all over him. And that's what he did right out of that nasty little dragon mouth. And wham, it hit him right in his back. And it ate right into his vital flesh here. And if you know a doctor or you know anybody that's in the medical field and they can look at this and not understand what they're seeing, I would tell them to get out of the medical field. Because this, every one of these big branches are arteries. It ate through all the scales. All those big branches are arteries. They brought the blood in. Then they filtered off into the blood vessels, and then the blood vessels come down here as they distribute all their blood, which again, you see the stuff growing green? That's growing green because it's blood. It's not growing anywhere over here. It's in the growing green because it's blood. Now, once it gets done using up all of this good stuff, it dumps it into the lymph system, which is here, and into the veins to go back and get recharged. You see them all dumping out here? Those are capillaries. All right, and the only reason you can see this is because of the toxins that fish, that giant dragon spit out, ate through here. You don't see it here, down here. This is the rest of the fish. This is the fish. Now this, I don't know what's going on there, but I think this is his eye. That, I don't know. Now, this is where it ate through. Down here, you can't see down into the fleshy part where you see all the blood vessels and everything. Not well. You can see a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but certainly nothing like you saw up above. All right, it's just so gigantic you can see every detail of everything. Now, I can also see right here, these are lymph nodes. Lymph nodes try to protect you from attack. And these died doing their job. You see this? This was the stuff from the dragon. The lymph is going up to take it out of your system. All right, that's what lymph does. It goes through a fluid-filled highway, and it's up here in this fluid-filled highway, grabbing a hold of the toxin. But unbeknownst to the lymph, the toxin is so terrible that the lymph, when it brought it down to the lymph nodes died. So here it is, grabbing a hold of these toxins, saying, all right, take them down there, dump them out into the lymph nodes. So here it comes down, here it comes down, here it comes down, here it comes down, and it filters all down here to the lymph nodes. And there's a whole series of them. You see them down here? They come all the way down. They're all being killed because what happens is all that noxious stuff comes in here. It's supposed to be filtered. And they actually have filters. You want to see the filters? All around the edges where this stuff enters, there's filters. It's going to take a while to settle in here. You see the filters? These are all little tiny filters that filter out the worst of the worst. But there's so much bad stuff it can't hold up, and they died. That's why they turned black. It's being attacked from every which way with that lymph, and normally it would detoxify it and then spit it back out into the system, into the lymph system, but it can't. And this one down here is doing the same thing. It's dying too. It's being invaded by all of that heavy duty stuff. Same set of filtration on this one too. But you see, all this is supposed to be, all this stuff's coming in here, and inside is supposed to deal with it. It can't deal with it. See, here's all the filters on this one. They're all the same. They're all, they're all lymph nodes. I can see more biology in mud fossils than doctors can see with their microscopes. And that's a fact. I discovered interstitium, which is the layer that they never knew about, was just below the skin, which is the fluid-filled highway. And that's where all this stuff is. This is that fluid-filled highway. And this is where you're supposed to be protected. It's basically in the lymph system. But you see, they're all dying, all of them, all the way down. They can't hold up. So anyway, there's another biology lesson for today, my friends. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at this. I love you all. And again, to be able to talk and have discourse, that's what it's all about. And I appreciate this guy pointing out my error. I didn't have enough information to go on about that Zuma Rock. I didn't know what it was called. Somebody said, what do you see? I said, I see a footprint. And I just went with that because it just seemed so obvious to me from the picture I had. But the picture I had wasn't complete enough to do the job. And the same thing with Devil's Tower. We haven't seen enough of. Today I hope you've seen enough to show you that thing was just a giant creature, much bigger than we thought. And that little tiny tendon is just minuscule compared to the whole foot. So we really got to start over. I mean, I find out new things every day. I find out I'm wrong about this or that. But the general concept that I'm presenting, I am not wrong about this. These giants were here on the earth, and as far as I'm concerned, I showed you Quetzalcoatl, I showed you Typhon, and these things were written about. They weren't just something that somebody could make up today. These things were all documented, and Velikovsky did all of the research on this sort of stuff. I don't know if he got too deep into dragons and so forth, but his whole presentation was about the Earth being wrenched by an impact by Venus into our atmosphere, just a glancing blow. And that's what wiped out everything, boiled the oceans, disturbed the silica ooze it's called siliceous ooze, from the deep ocean. 15% of the floor is made of it. It came up and turned them into mud fossils almost instantly. As a matter of fact, well, I can't find it, but I was working with some of that silica, and a drop of it I missed, and it fell over, and I went to clean up some stuff, and I thought it was water, and it didn't clean up, and I picked it up, and it was this piece of silica. It looks just like a water bubble. So I think this stuff is going to preserve very well. So I'm going to do some experiments and see if I can create some really solid mud fossils. I did it before, and it didn't come out too bad, but I didn't know about all of this heavy-duty amount of silica then. So, and I have silica here, so I'm going to do it. All right, I love you all. Thank you for watching. Please spread the word. Please give us a thumb up. And so we can get this out into the rest of the world and let them make their decisions. Because as far as I'm concerned, if all of the things that were written about these gigantic creatures were true, they talked about demons, they talked about everything else, the giants, the dragons, the demons, and what I'm going to go into my next one is going to be the book of Jubilees and the book of Enoch. Because those are the ones that cut out, because they talked about these things. Nobody could believe it. Even at that time, they would say, don't talk about that. Leave those books out or they'll think we're all idiots. All right? That's what they'll think, because these things support Jesus Christ and they support all these other things, but they're so spectacular, nobody's going to pay any attention because it's just insanity. So remove those, leave the rest of the books in the Bible and so forth. Those stuff they may be able to take, but they're not going to be able to take 1,000-mile long dragons and hundreds of miles tall humans, and that's basically what we got. All right, once again, Fios con Dios, amigos.